How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, February 13th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the big performances and, of course, the Elite matchups from yesterday, Friday, February 12th, and I'm going to walk through and preview all the matchups today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. Starting in the NBA, because of course the NFL season is over with and the MLB season doesn't start up in a couple of days, but we're in the midst of the NBA season, catching up with the 8th week of the NBA. Starting in Dallas, the Dallas Mavericks hosted the New Orleans Pelicans in the first primetime performance of the night. And in this one, the Dallas Mavericks would beat the New Orleans Pelicans 143-130 after outscoring the Pelicans by 9 points in the second half in order to pick up their 5th win in their last 6 games to get them on a roll to where they are right now. For the New Orleans Pelicans, their elite starting small forward, Brandon Ingram out of Duke, Go Duke, would finish with 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 35 minutes, shooting 11 for 23 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. The leading scorer for the New Orleans Pelicans was Zion Williamson, the Pelicans' elite starting power forward out of Duke, Go Duke. Zion Williamson would finish with 36 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals in 37 minutes, as Williamson shot 14 for 15 from the field and 8 for 11 from the free throw line, as Zion's only miss came from behind the free throw line, or behind the three-point line. He was 0 for 1 from 3 and 14 for 14 from 2. For the Dallas Mavericks in this matchup, their starting center, Kristaps Porzingis, would finish with 36 points and 7 rebounds in 32 minutes as he shot 13 for 21 from the field, 8 for 13 from 3, and he made 2 of his 4 free throw attempts on the night. And the leading scorer for the Dallas Mavericks would be Luka Doncic, their elite starting point guard, who finished with 46 points, 8 rebounds, and 12 assists in 40 minutes as Doncic shot 17 for 30 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, and 7 for 9 from the free throw line. With this win, the Dallas Mavericks are currently sitting at 13-14, which is the 9th best record in the Western Conference. A big improvement from where they were a couple weeks ago, where they were sitting second from the bottom. But right now, they are sitting 8.5 games behind the first place Utah Jazz. And with this loss, the New Orleans Pelicans are 11-14, tied with the Houston Rockets for the 3rd worst record in the Western Conference. As they are 1 game behind the Mavericks, they are 9.5 games behind the first place Utah Jazz. Jumping out to the other primetime performance of the night, the Utah Jazz hosted the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Jazz were able to beat the Bucks 129-115 as they keep their lead over the entire Western Conference. For the Milwaukee Bucks in this matchup, their starting center, Brook Lopez, would finish with 23 points and 6 rebounds, as well as 2 blocks in 26 minutes, as Lopez shot 8 for 18 from the field. And the Bucks' leading scorer would be their elite starting power forward, Giannis Antetokounmpo, who finished with 29 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 39 minutes, as he had 5 fouls on the day. He shot 12 for 20 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the free throw line. For the Utah Jazz in this matchup, they had 4 players that scored at least 25 points. Off the bench, their point guard Jordan Clarkson would finish with 25 points and 5 assists in 31 minutes, as Clarkson shot 10 for 18 from the field and made his only free throw attempt of the night. Their starting small forward, Joe Ingles, would tie for the team high in points, as Joe Ingles had 27 points, 5 assists in 30 minutes as he shot 8 for 11 from the field, 7 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. Additionally, their elite starting shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell, would finish with 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists as he shot 6 for 20 from the field in 37 minutes. He shot 1 for 9 from 3 and 13 for 14 from the free throw line. And then tied with Joe Ingles for the team high in points was their elite center, Rudy Gobert, who finished with 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 blocks in 35 minutes as Gobert shot 9 for 12 from the field and 9 for 13 from the free throw line. With this win, the Utah Jazz are 21-5, which is the best record in the Western Conference and the best record in the NBA for that matter. They're half a game over the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers with this win, and with this loss, the Milwaukee Bucks are 16-10, which is the 2nd best record in the Eastern Conference. They are 2 games behind the Philadelphia 76ers and a game and a half ahead of the 3rd place Brooklyn Nets. Jumping to the other games that weren't on prime time, jumping out to Charlotte. The Charlotte Hornets hosted the Minnesota Timberwolves as 2 of the top 3 picks from this most recent draft, Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball, would face off against one another. In this game, the Charlotte Hornets would pull off the 120-114 win after outscoring Minnesota by 6 points in the second quarter and by 4 in the third. for the Minnesota Timberwolves in this matchup. Their starting small forward and the number 1 overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft, Anthony Edwards, would finish with 21 points and 6 rebounds in 34 minutes, shooting 9 for 21 from the field and making his only free throw attempt of the night. Their elite starting center, Karl Anthony Towns, would finish with 25 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals in 32 minutes in his second game back, as he shot 9 for 18 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. And the Minnesota Timberwolves' leading scorer would be their starting shooting guard, Malik Beasley, out of Florida State, who finished with 31 points and 5 rebounds in 37 minutes, shooting 12 for 21 from the field and 7 for 13 from 3. For the Charlotte Hornets, their elite starting point guard, LaMelo Ball, would finish with 20 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals in 37 minutes, as Ball shot 8 for 15 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. And the Charlotte Hornets' leading scorer would be their starting shooting guard, Terry Rozier, who finished with 41 points and 7 rebounds in 41 minutes, shooting 13 for 20 from the field, 6 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 9 for 9 from the free throw line. With this win, the Charlotte Hornets are 13-14, which is the 6th best record in the Eastern Conference. They are half a game behind the 5th place Indiana Pacers, and they are 5.5 games behind the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers. And with this loss, the Minnesota Timberwolves are 6-20, which is the worst record in the Western Conference, as they are 15 games behind the 1st place Jazz in the West, and they are also a game and a half behind behind the Washington Wizards, who are currently sitting in last place in the Eastern Conference. Jumping out to Washington, the Washington Wizards hosted the New York Knicks, and the New York Knicks were able to beat the Wizards 109-91 after outscoring the Washington Wizards in every single quarter of the game in order to get their 12th win of the season. For the Washington Wizards, their elite starting point guard, Russell Westbrook, would lead the team in points, as he had 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists, as well as 5 turnovers in 35 minutes, as Russ shot 10 for 22 from the field and 3 for 6 from the free throw line. And for the New York Knicks, their leading scorer would be their starting power forward, Julius Randle, out of Kentucky, who finished with 24 points and 18 rebounds in 32 minutes, as he shot 8 for 15 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the free throw line. With this win, the New York Knicks are 12-5, which is the 8th best record in the Eastern Conference. They are 6.5 games behind the 1st place Sixers, and within the playoff picture, they are half a game behind the 7th place Raptors. And with this loss, the Washington Wizards are 6-17, sitting at the bottom of the conference. As they are half a game ahead of the Pistons, they are 10.5 games behind the Philadelphia 76ers. Jumping to Chicago, the Chicago Bulls hosted the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Los Angeles Clippers were able to beat the Chicago Bulls 125-106 after outscoring the Bulls by 15 in the second half. For the Chicago Bulls, in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their starting shooting guard, Zach LaVine, who finished with 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists in 34 minutes, shooting 11 for 21 from the field and 4 for 7 from 3. For the Los Angeles Clippers, their small forward off the bench, Marcus Morris Sr., would finish with 20 points and 6 rebounds in 25 minutes, shooting 6 for 10 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3, and then he would also shoot 2 for 2 from the free throw line on the night. He would lead all bench scorers in the game, and then leading the Los Angeles Clippers in scoring would be their goated small forward, Kawhi Leonard, who finished with 33 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals in 33 minutes, as he shot 14 for 21 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. With this win, the Los Angeles Clippers are 19-8, which is half a game better than the top team in the Eastern Conference, which is the 76ers. But right now, they are 2.5 games behind the 1st place Jazz and 2 games behind the 2nd place defending champions Los Angeles Lakers out west. And with this loss, the Chicago Bulls are 10-15, which is the 5th worst record in the entire Eastern Conference, as they are 7.5 games behind the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers. Jumping out to Atlanta, the Atlanta Hawks hosted the San Antonio Spurs, and the San Antonio Spurs were able to beat the Atlanta Hawks 129-114 after leading by as much as 40 in the 4th quarter, after outscoring Atlanta by 22 points in the 2nd quarter, 7 in the 1st quarter, and then 9 in the 3rd quarter to build up a ginormous lead, which I think at their largest was 42 points. For the Atlanta Hawks in this matchup, off the bench, their shooting guard Skylar Mays would finish with 20 points in 17 minutes, shooting 7 for 10 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, and making both of his free throw attempts on the night. And for the Atlanta Hawks, their leading scorer would be their elite point guard Trae Young, who finished with 25 points in 23 minutes, as well as 3 assists, shooting 8 for 15 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the free throw line. For the San Antonio Spurs, their starting small forward, Keldon Johnson, would finish with 20 points in 28 minutes, shooting 8 for 11 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 2 for 2 from the free throw line. And their starting small forward, DeMar DeRozan, would lead the team in scoring as he would finish with 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists in 26 minutes, shooting 7 for 11 from the field and 9 for 10 from the free throw line after not even attempting a 3 all game. With this win, the San Antonio Spurs are 15-11, which is the 6th best record in the Western Conference. Within the playoff picture, they are half a game behind the 5th place Trailblazers, and they are 6 games behind the 1st place Utah Jazz. With this loss, the Atlanta Hawks are 10-14, which is the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they and the Miami Heat are sitting one win and 1 loss behind the 8th place New York Knicks, as overall they are 6.5 games out of 1st place in the Eastern Conference. Jumping out to Boston, the Boston Celtics hosted the Detroit Pistons, and the Pistons were able to get their 7th win of the season after outscoring Boston by 8 points in the third quarter to pull off an 108-102 win against a very solid team in the East. For the Boston Celtics, their starting shooting guard, Jaylen Brown, would finish with 27 points and 6 rebounds, as well as 2 steals in 36 minutes, shooting 11 for 21 from the field. And then their leading scorer would be their elite starting small forward, Jason Tatum, who finished with 33 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists in 41 minutes. At a Duke, go Duke. Jason Tatum would shoot 9 for 22 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and 12 for 13 from the free throw line. And for the Detroit Pistons, their starting shooting guard, DeLon Wright, would finish with 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists in 35 minutes, leading all the starters in scoring as he shot 7 for 9 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the free throw line. Also among the starters, their elite starting power forward, Blake Griffin, would finish with 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists in 35 minutes, shooting 4 for 11 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the free throw line. And the Pistons' leading scorer off the bench would be their rookie small forward, Saddiq Bey, who finished with 30 points and 12 rebounds in 27 minutes as he shot 10 for 12 from the field, 7 for 7 from 3, and 3 for 3 from the free throw line. I think he's the first he's the first rookie in NBA history to score 30 points while not missing a 3, while making at least 7 of them. A crazy, insane stat, but the fact that he did it is pretty amazing. With this win, the Detroit Pistons are 7-19, which win percentage-wise is the 2nd worst record in the Eastern Conference, just slightly ahead of the Washington Wizards. And with that said, with that win, or with this loss, the Boston Celtics are now 13-12, which is the 4th worst or the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference. Within the playoff picture, they are a game behind the 3rd place Brooklyn Nets, and overall they are 4.5 games behind the Philadelphia 76ers. Jumping out to Denver, the Denver Nuggets hosted the Oklahoma City Thunder and were able to pull off the 97-95 win after outscoring Oklahoma City by 11 points in the 4th quarter to pull off a very big win at home. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, their leading scorer would be their small forward, Justin Jackson, off the bench, who finished with 20 points in 28 minutes, shooting 7 for 11 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the line. And for the Denver Nuggets in this matchup, their elite starting point guard, Jamal Murray, would finish with 22 points, tied for the team high in points, as he finished with 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 38 minutes. Jamal Murray would shoot 8 for 19 from the field, 3 for 11 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the free throw line, and tied with him for the team high in points would be the Denver Nuggets elite starting center, Nikola Jokic, who finished with 22 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists in 37 minutes, shooting 9 for 16 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. With this win, the Denver Nuggets are 14-11, which is currently the 7th best record in the Western Conference. Within the playoff picture, they are half a game behind the 6th place San Antonio Spurs. As overall, they are 6.5 games behind the Western Conference leading Utah Jazz. And with this loss, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 10-15, which is the 2nd worst record in the Western Conference, as they are 10.5 games behind the Utah Jazz currently, and by math, they are 4 games behind the Denver Nuggets. Jumping out to Staples Center, the Los Angeles Lakers, the defending 2020 NBA champs, hosted the Memphis Grizzlies and were able to pull off the 115-105 win to continue their winning streak. After in the first quarter, they were down 20-2. They would eventually come back. They would outscore the Grizzlies by 18 in the third quarter in order to come off and able to come out with their 21st win of the season over the Memphis Grizzlies. For the Memphis Grizzlies in this matchup, they had 3 players with at least 22 points. Their starting center, Jonas Valanciunas, would finish with 22 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists in 32 minutes, shooting 9 for 13 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. Tied for him with that amount of points would be Ja Morant, the Memphis Grizzlies' elite starting point guard out of Murray State, who would finish with 22 points, 3 rebounds, and 10 assists in 35 minutes, shooting 7 for 18 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the free throw line. And the Memphis Grizzlies' leading scorer would be their starting shooting guard out of Duke, Grayson Allen. Go Duke. Grayson Allen would finish with 23 points and 2 steals in 35 minutes, shooting 8 for 13 from the field, 6 for 10 from 3, and making his only free throw attempt of the night. For the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers, their small forward off the bench, Kyle Kuzma, would finish with 20 points and 10 rebounds in 32 minutes, shooting 8 for 14 from the field and making both of his free throws on the night. Their goated small forward, LeBron James, would finish with 28 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals, as well as 5 turnovers for the Lakers in 34 minutes as he shot 9 for 15 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and 9 for 14 from the free throw line. And the Los Angeles Lakers' leading scorer would be their elite starting power forward, Anthony Davis, who finished with 35 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists in 35 minutes, shooting 16 for 27 from the field and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. With this win, the Los Angeles Lakers are 21-6, which is the second best record in the Western Conference. They are half a game behind the Utah Jazz as they have one more loss than they do, as both teams have 21 wins at the moment. And with this loss, the Memphis Grizzlies are sitting with the 11th best or the 10th or the 5th worst record in the Western Conference at 10-11, as they are 8.5 games out of first place behind the Jazz and 8 games behind the Los Angeles Lakers. Jumping out to Portland, the Portland Trailblazers hosted the Cleveland Cavaliers and were able to pull off a 129-110 win after outscoring the Cleveland Cavaliers by 21 points in the first half and carrying that momentum through the end of the game. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, off the bench, their center Jared Allen would finish with 22 points and 6 rebounds in 24 minutes as he shot 7 for 12 from the field and made 8 of his 15 free throw attempts. And the leading scorer for the Cleveland Cavaliers would be their starting point guard out of Alabama, Colin Sexton, who finished with 25 points and 5 assists, as well as 2 steals in 41 minutes, shooting 8 for 16 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 8 for 9 from the free throw line. For the Portland Trailblazers, off the bench, their future Hall of Fame power forward, Carmelo Anthony, would finish with 23 points in 20 minutes, shooting 7 for 13 from the field and 6 for 8 from the free throw line. Their elite starting point guard, Damian Lillard, would finish with 20 points, 3 rebounds, and 9 assists in 30 minutes, shooting 7 for 16 from the field and a perfect 6 for 6 from the line. Their starting center, Enes Kanter, would finish with 21 points and 13 rebounds in 27 minutes, shooting 9 for 11 from the field and 3 for 3 from the free throw line. And the Portland Trailblazers' leading scorer would be their starting shooting guard, Gary Trent Jr. out of Duke. Go Duke. Gary Trent Jr. would finish with 26 points in 36 minutes, shooting 8 for 12 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the free throw line. With this win, the Portland Trailblazers are 15-10, which is the 5th best record in the Western Conference. Within the playoff picture, they are half a game behind the 4th place Phoenix Suns, and overall, they are 5.5 games behind the Utah Jazz. And with this loss, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 10-17, which ties them with the Orlando Magic for the 3rd worst record in the Eastern Conference. And overall, they are 8.5 games behind the first place Philadelphia 76ers. And then last but not least, jumping to Sacramento, the Sacramento Kings hosted the Orlando Magic, and the Orlando Magic were able to beat the Sacramento Kings 123-112 after outscoring the Kings by 5 in the second and third quarters individually to pick up their 10th win of the season. For the Sacramento Kings in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their starting shooting guard out of Oklahoma, Buddy Hield, who finished with 19 points in 33 minutes, shooting 7 for 15 from the field and 5 for 12 from 3. For the Orlando Magic in this matchup, their starting point guard, Michael Carter-Williams, former NBA Rookie of the Year, would finish with 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists in 27 minutes, shooting 7 for 16 from the field on the day. And the Orlando Magic leading scorer would be their starting center, Nikola Vucevic, who finished with 42 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 steals in 34 minutes, shooting 17 for 22 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the free throw line. With this win, the Orlando Magic are 10-17, which ties them with the Cleveland Cavaliers for the third worst record in the Eastern Conference, 8.5 games behind the Philadelphia 76ers. And with this loss, the Sacramento Kings are 12-13, which is the 10th best record in the Western Conference, as they are 8.5 games behind the Utah Jazz, and they are 1.5 games behind the 8th place Golden State Warriors in terms of the playoff picture. But with that said, those were all the NBA games that were played yesterday. Looking forward to what's going on today for Saturday the 13th, starting with the mainstream games that are going to be on TV tonight. At 3 o'clock, the Phoenix Suns are going to host the Philadelphia 76ers, who are sitting at the top of the East. That game is going to be on NBA TV. And at 8:30, the Golden State Warriors are going to host the Brooklyn Nets on ABC, as Stephen Curry faces off against his teammate with which he won 2 championships, Kevin Durant. And these are 2 of the GOATed players in the NBA playing against one another, with, of course, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Draymond Green, and the Warriors kind of filling in the rest of the game as well. Outside of those games, at 7:30, the Hawks are going to host the Pacers on the second night of a back-to-back. At 8 o'clock, the Knicks are going to host the Rockets. And then at 9 o'clock, the Jazz are going to host the Miami Heat, the reigning Eastern Conference champions. Really quickly jumping into what's going on with college basketball. There was only one college basketball game last night among ranked opponents. And unranked Nebraska would host 6th-ranked Illinois. And this game will go into overtime, and 6th-ranked Illinois would finish by winning this game 77-72 behind Ayo Dosunmu's 31 points and 6 assists. With this win, 6th-ranked Illinois is now 14-5 as they are 10-3 in the Big Ten. And with this loss, unranked Nebraska is 4-12 as they drop to 0-9 in the Big Ten. And then looking forward to what's going on today, because today is Saturday. There's going to be a lot of college basketball, starting from the earlier games. At noon, 4th-ranked Ohio State is going to host unranked Indiana on ESPN. Also at noon, 17th-ranked Florida State is going to host unranked Wake Forest on ACC Network X. At noon, unranked Drake is going to host 22nd-ranked Loyola Chicago on ESPN2. Also at noon, 23rd-ranked Oklahoma State is going to host unranked Kansas State on ESPNU. At 1 o'clock, 14th-ranked West Virginia is going to host 12th-ranked Oklahoma on ESPN+. At 2 o'clock, 13th-ranked Texas is going to host unranked TCU on Longhorn Network. At 2 o'clock, unranked LSU is going to host 16th-ranked Tennessee on ESPN. At 2:30, unranked Michigan State is going to host 15th-ranked Iowa on Fox. At 3:30, 11th-ranked Alabama is going to host unranked Georgia on SEC Network. At 4 o'clock, 10th-ranked Mizzou is going to host unranked Arkansas on ESPN2. At 5 o'clock, 19th-ranked Creighton is going to host 5th-ranked Villanova on Fox. Also at 5 o'clock, 25th-ranked Rutgers is going to host unranked Northwestern. At 6 o'clock, unranked University of San Francisco is going to host the first-ranked Gonzaga Bulldogs. At 6 o'clock, 9th-ranked Virginia is going to host unranked UNC on ESPN. At 8 o'clock, unranked Washington State is going to host 20th-ranked USC on ESPNU, and those were all the games that are scheduled for today. And then really quickly looking out to what's going on in the NHL, because there were only 2 games that were played yesterday, but of course I'm going to walk you through them. Starting in New York, the Boston Bruins were able to beat the New York Rangers 1-0 as the only goal in the game came in the second period. With this win, the Boston Bruins now have 10 wins on the season, and they are currently sitting at the top of the East Division by 2 points over the second-place Philadelphia Flyers. And continuing on, the other game of the night, the St. Louis Blues were able to beat the Arizona Coyotes 4-1 as the game was tied going into the third period, but the 3 goals from the Blues would put them up and give them their 8th win of the season. With this win, the St. Louis Blues are sitting on top of the West Division by 1 point over the second-place Las Vegas Golden Knights. And then those are the 2 games from last night. Looking forward to the primetime games today, because the other games I'll just get back to you once they're done. At 7 o'clock, the Florida Panthers are going to host the Tampa Bay Lightning on ESPN+. And then at 8 o'clock, the Stars are going to host the Hurricanes on ESPN+. And I will get back to the other games once the other games have been played. Really quickly looking out to what's going on in the world of international soccer. There weren't any big games that were played yesterday, but of course, the games from yesterday lead into what's going on today. At 7:30, Liverpool is going to face off against Leicester City. Liverpool is currently sitting 4th in the table. Leicester City sits 3rd. A win for Liverpool could tie them up with Leicester City for 3rd in the table, because Leicester City is 3 points ahead of Liverpool. So that's how important that game is as to how the Premier League shapes out. And then at 12:30, the Premier League leading Manchester City squad is going to host Tottenham at 12:30. Manchester City sitting at the top of the table by 5 points over Manchester United, who's played one less game. So this game gives them a chance to go up by 8 points. And also, Tottenham is sitting 8th in the table, as a win here could do a lot for their season. A win here could see them possibly jump up and be tied with Chelsea and West Ham for the 5th and 6th spot. And Manchester City, of course, needs this winning to keep their spot. So that's going to be a very important game as to how the Premier League shapes out. Looking out in the German Bundesliga, at 9:30, Borussia Dortmund is going to host TSG Hoffenheim, as Borussia Dortmund's facing some trouble in the table. They are currently sitting 6th, as they are 16 points behind Bayern Munich. A win here could see them possibly move into being tied in 5th place with Bayer Leverkusen, but Leverkusen faces off against Mainz, the second worst team in the Bundesliga. So a win here would be very important for Borussia Dortmund, as they are tied with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Looking out in Italian Serie A, Juventus is going to face off against Napoli at 12 o'clock, as these are two of the top teams in Italy. Right now, Napoli is currently sitting 6th, as Juventus sits 3rd. A win for Juventus could see them move to within 4 points of first place Milan today. That's if Milan loses, because Milan will face off against Spezia at 2:45, and Spezia is the 5th worst team in Italy, so this is a chance for AC Milan to possibly extend their lead in Serie A. Looking out to La Liga, Granada is going to face off against Atletico Madrid at 8 o'clock, as of course Atletico Madrid is still sitting comfortably at the very top of La Liga by 5 points over Real Madrid, even though they played 2 less games. So a win here could make their lead 8, or even a draw could make it 6, but they are sitting very comfortably on front. And then Barcelona is going to host Alaves at 3 o'clock. Barcelona sits 3rd in the table. A win here could see them tied up with Real Madrid, and then Alaves is sitting 5th from the bottom of the table, so this should be a very easy win for Barcelona. And then last but not least, looking out into Ligue 1 in France, PSG is going to host Nice. And with the way that Ligue 1 is set up, there's 3 teams that are sitting at the top, all separated by 3 points. In 3rd place, PSG is going to face off against the 13th ranked team in Ligue 1. So a win here could see them put pressure on Lyon and Lille to win their games. Speaking of Lyon, Olympique Lyonnais will host Montpellier at 3 o'clock. They've won their last 5 games, and right now a win from Lyon could keep them 1 point above PSG. And because Lille doesn't play, Lyon could temporarily see themselves sitting at the top of the French league by the end of the day. But with that said, I want to thank everyone once again for listening to all 28 minutes of this piece. Today is Saturday, February 13th, 2021, and I will get back to you tomorrow once all of these exhibitions are finished. And also tonight, there will be a big MMA welterweight fight. And of course, I'll get back to you regarding all of the exhibitions and the fight tomorrow on Sunday, February 14th, 2021, which will also be Valentine's Day. And for Valentine's, I want to say I love you all. Thank you once again for listening to my piece. Today is Saturday, February 13th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I want to thank you once again for listening to my piece. I hope all is well, and I will catch you tomorrow for Sunday, February 14th, 2021. And with that said, peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.